Hello and welcome back to another video. This time I wanted to show you something that has developed into a really interesting tool, something that tries to go into the direction of the likes of GSX on MSFS, FSX prepared, but it's freeware and it uses flywheel lure. But I'm following this freeware project now for quite some time, and I have started to use it a lot. And recently, in the current version, which is 63, this thing for me has actually, at least for the moment, replaced Better Pushback in XP12. The tool can be used in XP11 and XP12, and it has a multitude of functionality put in there by the developer. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm going to show you some aspects of it. So this will not be a comprehensive tutorial. I'm just going to show you the, for me, most important functionality, which I'm now using practically every time I have a jet in XP12, and I need some form of ground support. So here's where you get it from. The other thing you must have is the latest version of Flywheel Lure. Flywheel Lure you also get here on the explain.org, but I think most explainers should know by now what Flywheel Lure is and what possibilities Flywheel Lure actually offers us. Also another great tool, which I'm really glad that we have people, developers such as XP12, for example. He's the guy who, well, I'm assuming XP12, who is producing nifty little additions and tools here for Explain. It's not his only one. And you can always find out what other offerings someone has, by the way, on the forum. If you click on find, there are other files up here, and you will then see if someone has produced maybe other little diamonds that you might want to have as well. So simple ground equipment and services just replicates the ground service, but much better, because Explain has sort of a very basic ground services built in. You can call them up, but yeah, I think we all know neither the pushback nor the rest is really great, but it's okay. I mean, that's just the standard functionality, which is the kind of bare bones stuff. Tools like this here bring it to another level. The tool also comes together with Better Pushback, if you have Better Pushback installed and activated as a plugin. It will replace its own pushback functionality by calling Better Pushback. But because Better Pushback is difficult in XP12, for many people it doesn't work, it crashes. I'm sort of lucky, and I'm not sure why that is. I haven't really understood the differences. So some people use it without any issue. Other people, like me, we have to wait for 40 or 50 seconds once I ask for the tow truck, but only once. After that, if I'm not stopping the explain session, it works fine for me. I don't know. And for other people, it is crash to desktop, which is not a very good thing. So until Better Pushback gets another update which handles the specialities of XP12, I've actually switched to this here, simple ground equipment and services, because it now has, since version 60 or so, it has now a pushback functionality which is very interesting. So for the MSFS people here, looking to that, you remember there had been a freeware tool that extended the pushback functionality of MSFS by allowing you to select the position where you want your aircraft to be. That has been introduced here. It's very basic, but it does the job, and I'll show you how it works amongst just an overview of what other functionalities there are. Here on this you can already read about, so it covers military as well as normal standard pushback and towing and ground services in general. So it brings up stairs, it brings up catering vehicles, fuel trucks, ground power. Some of these things they're not doing something, they're kind of viewing only, but it's all you need for the immersion to just have a bit more realistic surroundings around your airplane in X-Plane. And yes, it works for 12. It was tested on 1204, I'm on 1205 now, and X-Plane 1155. Last update was not long ago. That's actually how I found out that there's pushback, because from time to time I check and I download the latest version, and then I realized, oh, looky, pushback. There was a very simple pushback built in, but as I say, it's a bit more. Now, if you're expecting me to go through all aspects and deep down, and this is a tutorial, no, this is not a tutorial, this is a quick look. So I'm just showing you around, and I'm actually already talking far too much, but I keep getting comments of people that simply don't understand that I'm not into tutorials. I'm just showing you things, giving you ideas, and then it's up to you to learn more. I do make mistakes, it's just the way it is. So if you really want to understand the tool deeply and all its possibilities, which by the way change and get more with every version, because the developer is very active, then by all means please read the manual, which is quite comprehensive, as you can see here. Yeah, it explains everything. There is a possibility to actually configure stuff for special aircraft. I haven't tried that yet, but for example, I have cargo kind of versions of normal passenger airplanes, for example the Sparky, and there isn't a profile for the Sparky as a cargo 747 yet, and it is possible to, or maybe it isn't in the meanwhile, but there hadn't been. It is actually possible to extend and modify the list of aircraft that already come as default configuration. It's relatively easy in brackets to do that, but please again read the manual, and here you can see what you can do in order to modify the positions, for example. Alright then, let's call it up. I think you can define a key. I don't. I just use the built-in menu. There are 3 simple ground equipment SGES options. You can refresh the scenery cache, which will just look up the airport's positions and things like that. I think you can refresh cache without custom scenery, so it would be based on standard, I guess. That's the way I understand it. I don't do that very often. Yeah, usually I do it when I've freshly installed, but I think it does it itself too, if there isn't a cache. But what I use most of the time is display the SGES window. Click here and then you get this window. You can bring it outside, but we'll leave it in here now to show you. And just to quickly browse through all the possibilities that you can see. There's a follow me. It is actually possible to stand on the runway and ask for a follow me. there is a visual GPU. It's not connecting. It's a visual GPU. The ASU, I'm not sure if it's only visible. Could be that we actually get something attached, at least for standard planes. There's a fuel truck. There's a cleaning van. There are loaders. So opening the cargo doors and adding sort of a belt or something. And there can also be carts with luggage coming in. You will see in a moment. There are stairs, different types. You can call for a passenger bus, the catering, cones, they're already activated. There are people moving. Well, it reminds me a bit of zombie apocalypse, but anyway, it's a bit like in GSX, although here they are even more zombie-like, but you know, it's fun. It's and you don't need to use, by the way, these things. Here you can actually activate a sequence of events, and down here you see something like T plus 17 minutes. And then there are some specific things for example, Arresta. I think that's something on aircraft carriers that you can use, and you can automatically activate stairs if you want. So that's just a quick overview of what you can see. Now I'm going to show you the, let's say, basic functionality that I use out of it. I'm not, as I say, I'm not going into detail for everything. So now let's have a look at how I start up. For example, I'm here in Stuttgart. It's the default MD82. In XP12 we have the possibility to toggle the jetways, so I'm activating this functionality. I think it also integrates with SAM if it exists, and can, at least as far as possible, control here the gates. I think it also mentions autogate. I'm not sure, I haven't really tried, because at the moment in XP12 I stick mainly to standard functionality, because SAM, for example, doesn't really work very well for me yet. So I've now brought the gate here, and basically now I open the doors in the normal way. So I have to take care of the door in that case. But I could also now bring in stairs, which we don't have in this particular case. The next thing I do is, just for visual, I add the GPU by clicking here, and you see it's visual only. The thing is, with the with this aircraft, you're going to have ground power, I think, out of default with this one, if I remember correctly. Then I can call for the fuel truck. It will spawn a little bit behind the aircraft and then kind of roll to relative positions. So this is, as I say, a lot of it is probably relative, but you can configure it for every aircraft type. Obviously we can't go under the aircraft with this one here. Wouldn't work. I can call for the cleaning van. It's then here in the back. We can call for loaders. I think in this aircraft we can only open one of the cargo doors, and that's actually something that's a little bit I'm not sure why you did that. After a certain amount of minutes it will automatically close the window. Then you can call for a bus. Now I only do this to show you. This is the passenger bus. But yeah, the catering is also something that would probably not work here now. Does it? Do they fit? Yeah. And I mean, you have to make sure that you open the doors with whatever means necessary. I think in some aircraft it can open the doors, but I'm not 100% sure. Then we have chocks. I can activate chocks, and by the way, these chocks are not only visual, they're a bit like the parking brake, so they make sure that your aircraft doesn't start wandering off, going AWOL at the gate. And as you can see, things are there. They're not always matched, so you just have to try it out a bit, and then you will see. Now, what you can also do, let me take all of that away again. You can click on sequence, and that will start an 18-minute sequence. Unfortunately, not exactly. It's not watching the situation, so it would bring up all these cars and ladders, stairs and so on, just like that, okay? It's not perfect, but you have now an 18-minute cycle where it would bring certain things in and then take them away again. Maybe we should just toggle the jetway. And there you go. As I say, I think it depends on the aircraft. I have seen the doors opening, maybe not with this one. I'm just using this one because my Zibo acts up at the moment, crashing the simulator. Yeah, and it will do everything with a certain schedule. By the way, I haven't shown you, when there is a jetway, you actually will get a jetway button here, so you can trigger the jetway also from here. I forgot about that. Yep. So this has really evolved. Some of the functionality we see now in this version, it didn't exist when I started using it, so I probably use it less than you could. But again, I find it great, and yeah, just play around with the options and you will see it's just that little bit of additional emergence. It doesn't look completely empty there. You have these stairs, even if there is no real interaction. I think it's great. Right now, in the meantime, I stopped all the sequence stuff and I actually opened the doors. It's different with every aircraft. Some aircraft have the so-called sliders. You need to use the slider commands to open and close doors. Others, you can use the door commands of X-Plane to open and close doors. And in some payware add-ons, mainly, you have special commands. So it's not that straightforward to get doors opened. In newer and payware mainly aircraft, you do usually have an EFB where you can also control the doors whatever way. Obviously, because it's so different with every aircraft, you need to handle the doors yourself with this tool. So I just opened a few doors, at least as far as possible. Not every door I think is modeled here in this particular aircraft. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to activate people. That will bring some personnel. For example, the cleaner waiting with a brush. And some other airport ground staff, sort of. You can see that here. And the other thing is I will now call for the bus. So when the bus comes, it's full of people, obviously, passengers, and also the crew, I think. So as soon as the bus has arrived, and I think the automatic sequence, which I hardly ever use, will do these kind of things in a certain schedule. And now you can see we got yeah, and little note to the developer: please don't close the menu. Thank you. So now you can see it's passengers boarding, and that's what I said about zombie apocalypse. Yeah. It's a nice idea. As I say, it reminds me a little bit of GSX. Just that GSX people are a bit more dynamic than these guys here. But well, yeah. Why not? Oh. Yeah, you can always turn them off again and yeah, conclude progressively the deboarding. So I think when you click, then deboarding, outboarding, yeah. So you can, I think, speed up and get this done a bit faster. Not that they walk faster, but I think they stop coming out of the bus at some point. Why not? Okay, but the really new and interesting thing I'm going to show you now. Okay, now let's assume that we've done all the boarding, all the luggage is in, all the cars are gone, all the people are gone, and the only thing we have left is to push back and get into position. Now, either you use Better Pushback for that, which is still a great freeware plugin for pushing back when it works, or you can do now the following. There's a simple pushback option called PB. Don't use it. Use the aim option, and now watch this. So as soon as you press the aim, your view changes, and you have two sliders. One is sort of for the orientation of the aircraft, the other one is for the distance, and you just look here. Yeah, so you push the aircraft or the virtual aircraft. Now this is not a science thing here, okay? So there are slight differences between the real aircraft and this dummy here, but you can get pretty close. You see how it works. Yeah, it's I think it's the front wheel or so. That's the turning axis, and then you just try and get it onto the line as close as possible. Again, this is not exact science here, but I think it's more than okay. Once you've done this, don't touch anything else. Don't use the PB or stuff like that. If you now release the parking brake, so let's assume it's exactly at the point where you start your pushback, you release the parking brake, and then you get the start PB button, and that is the new thing that hasn't existed in older versions. You press that button and it now starts to push back. You can stop it at any time by clicking here. And in the meantime, you can now start your engines. I'm not going to do that. And yes, it's not the fastest pushback in the world, but then again, you have to be careful with these big birds anyway. So let's see if we land where we intended to land. Now, obviously, you cannot change the relative position to the gate. So complex setups like are possible in Better Pushback are not possible here. So this is basically a very simple pushback. If you need to push further, what you can do is to go into normal pushback mode, and then you control the pushback yourself, and then you can continue from that point. So this is for the, let's say, 89, probably 95% case, which is you're just going back from the gate a certain distance, and then you turn left or right. You can even define the angle, so you don't have to be. And here you can see now why I said it's not exact science. Although I am with the decoy, I'm a little bit further towards me. The aircraft ends up a little bit below the line. So this is something that you have to play. It might differ actually from aircraft to aircraft. But you're getting close enough for what we need. So that's in flight. I think you're fine. It's easy to kind of correct the shift. Actually, what I was missing is normally there should have been a voice, but that could be because we are outside. It could be that is the reason why we didn't hear it. Normally it says starting pushback, and now it asks to set the parking brake. I'm going to do that, and then the push truck moves away, and we are ready to taxi. Yeah, that's it. So that's the little ground services, simple ground services freeware tool. Get it on the forum and have a working, not crashing pushback functionality, and at least until the time that Better Pushback is fully adapted for XP12. And then, even then, if you activate it, you can use it from the ground services. So all the other options, and I haven't shown you everything, all the other options are available for you anytime. I hope that was helpful, and until next time.